Today in Granny's Corner, I will be showing you how to construct a beautiful handmade wreath for your home. These are the supplies you'll need. You can find them at most greenhouses or craft supply stores. First, a wire wreath frame. Spools of wire. This comes in various thicknesses. Choose one you'll be comfortable working with. Just be sure it's strong enough not to break when you pull it tight. You'll need wire cutters. You'll need these when you're done attaching the greens. A glue gun. Any type will do. Just make sure you have the proper glue sticks for the gun you've selected. You need to choose decorations. To save money, watch for sales or pick them up on clearance after the holidays. Or you can use natural items like pine cones. You'll also need a bow. Oh, and one more thing. You need fresh greens, cut to approximately 8 to 10 inches in length. You'll be attaching the greens to the frame with wire. But first, you need to attach the wire to the frame. Firmly wind the wire around one section of the frame on the back. Wind it around several times to make sure it's secure. You will unwind the wire from the spool as you go along, attaching each bunch of greens. Lay your first bunch of greens along the frame like this, and wind the wire about 3 times all the way around the greens and the frame, keeping the wire tight. Usually you will use about 4 pieces of greens for each bunch. You can use one type of green, or you can mix several kinds, whatever you have available. Now take your next bunch of greens and lay it on top of the first one, staggering it so a few inches of the first bunch will still be showing. Then again, you'll take your wire and wrap it around that bunch about 3 times. You'll repeat this with the third bunch of greens, and then the fourth and the fifth, and you continue adding the greens until the front of your frame is almost completely covered. In step 2, I will show you how to finish your wreath and how to add your decorations. Welcome back to Granny's Corner. Now I'll show you how to finish your wreath and add your decorations. When you're almost done covering your frame, you will have a small space that you need to cover. You take your final bunch of greens and stick the stem end under the first bunch of greens that you attached as you're laying this last bunch onto the previous one, making sure that you stagger it, and then wrap the wire carefully around 3 times, and then you'll turn your wreath over. Now, leaving about a 4 to 6 inch tail, using your wire cutters, cut the wire, and then wrap the tail of the wire around a section on the back of the frame several times to secure it. When you're done doing this, you turn your wreath back to the front. Now, before you actually attach the decorations in the bow, you need to decide where you will place them on your wreath. Because you're using fresh greens, your wreath will be unique, so you may have to try several ways to place the decorations before you're satisfied. Now, if you were really paying attention to part 1 of my video, you would have noticed that I had laid out different decorations than those I'm using. That's because sometimes what you had wanted to put on your wreath just doesn't seem to work, so it's good to have at least a couple of choices. And normally the bow ends up going where you finished adding the greens because that tends to be the thinnest part of your wreath. So place your decorations and your bows on your wreath. It may take a few tries to get it right, but that's okay. It's all part of the fun. One thing you want to remember is to have your glue gun plugged in so it'll heat up and melt the glue. So now you're ready to do some gluing. Simply take the gun, put some glue on the back of each decoration, then hold it in place for a few seconds on the wreath. If you don't think the glue will be enough, for instance if the decoration is heavy, you could attach wire to the decoration and secure the wire to the frame. You can still use glue too to hold the decoration in place if it doesn't sit exactly how you planned. One other thing you might even consider for your wreath is to spray it lightly with snow that you can buy in most places as well. Just spray it lightly. Better to start off light and have to add more than to start off heavy because you really wouldn't be able to remove it once it's on there. But sometimes it can really add a nice effect to your wreath. Okay, lastly, you're going to be attaching your bow. You carefully turn your wreath over while keeping the bow in place. Putting one piece of the wire from the bow on each side of the wreath. And you attach the wire by winding the two ends together and then winding it around the section of the back of the frame. Once you've done that, you can turn your wreath back over and your beautiful wreath is complete.